Why does it feel so good to work with rock and roll and to the beat of the axe? I just don't know. Rock and roll and rhythm goes together, and the beat of the axe and the patterns goes together with a deep understanding of the symbols of mankind during decades. Rock and roll has origins in African working songs as answer and call songs. Today the base of blues, soul, gospel, and rock and roll. And it can be seen in African fabrics as patterns conducting the working songs in the fields, where work, music, and rhythm beat together. And my name is Jögge Sundqvist, and I call myself Surolle. I'm a professional sloider, woodworker, or maybe a wood designer. And I have no professional education. I'm raised by tradition and by my father, Jögge Sundqvist. Some call me craftsman, but I'm not an artist. Definitions anyway, what are they worth? All I want is to make useful, nice-looking and user-friendly objects, like stools and chairs and benches and cupboards, and in the rich and broken craft tradition that we still actually have here in Västerbotten. And to explain my work for you, I have to build a room for you. A creative room with 4 walls which represents my boundaries and actually my greatest freedom. Freedom of expression is not working without limits. Those limits are tools and material. But within them, I have an incredible variety and diversity. And there I can be who I want to be, Surolle, a craftsman. And my aesthetic expression is formed by these walls. And I will now describe the 4 walls in this room. First, we have the material wall, which is here. When I'm out in the forest wood hunting, I have to be very careful about which tree I should cut to get the right strength, flexibility, and bending without gnarly knots and fibers. Wood is much stronger if form follows fibers. Form follow fibers is the mantra. Therefore, a spoon has to have an L shape, so the thin curved blade can hold for over 100 years. So it's a search for individuals. So when I walk in the woods, I put on special glasses to see this kind of material. I have lenses for straight-grown wood and special glasses for bended curves. And it's a special communication between us about their design. We talk the tree language. They talk to me and they say, I want to be a curved leg, or here's your hobo stick. All I have to do is to ask them politely for permission to cut them down. Don't you want to be a sexy curved leg for a little chair? Or maybe a back pad for my sofa. And they say, yes, finally I'm free from my roots. And back in the workshop, we take a wrestling match with each other. We go in a clinch. And sometimes a bended wooden piece gives me a straight uppercut in the workshop and says, I do not want to be a sexy leg, I want to be a back pad. So, as the beatnik Jack Kerouac should have said, we got to have the right beatitude to get life right. Life has to sway and swing and rock and roll, and I'm fine with that. It's a process and it's a dialogue with the material. When I choose the ultimate material for my work, wall number 2 comes in, and that's tools and tool skills. I just love this surface coming from the cutting tool, inherited for generations, a technique refined for thousands of years a kind of assembled aesthetic form, which is intimately associated with tools and technology. My production system is based on handcraft. It's a chopping block and an axe and a knife and a shaving horse, a froe and a club, of course, and some saws and drills. And quality comes out when it's easy to work. I want to show you some grasp that my father Ville showed me. First we have the power grasp with straight arm, like that. Cutting towards your body, like that. The crossed thumb grasp, like that. And of course we have the scissor grasp, which is using your chest like this. We also call this the chicken wing grasp. Not to mention the tin can opener, which is like this. I think we have about 10 special grasps which make the knife irreplaceable. Also, we have techniques. We have function and strength, which is very important and radical in useful objects. Sometimes we use dry and raw material together to make everlasting joints. The third wall is behind me, and that's tradition. The word slöjd refers to know how to, smart, or do it yourself, DIY. And it's still in our dialect here in Västerbotten. It's the Viking Age word, slög, which is slöjd nowadays, and it means crafty. But we do never say that we are crafty and practical. No, we say we are not unpractical, not uncrafty, or in Swedish, inte oslög. And every day I'm working, I'm connected to my family's more than 10 generations' work with wood, making furniture and household items, and I have a deep respect for their tradition and skills, because they knew that they had to live with what they had made for the rest of their lives. This is a sort of responsibility for themselves, which is embedded in the items that they had made, which was about love and caring and to pass on to next generation. And this wall of tradition contains a story about my father Ville when he got started for real. The story about Ville and his horse making. He was about 12 years old this time, and he was working with a horse and asked my grandpa Arvid if he could make drawings of a horse. And he said, "Why do you want to make drawings when you can make a real wooden horse?" And my dad said, "Isn't that very difficult and hard to do?" And then my grandpa Arvid replied, No, you just have to take away everything which is not a horse." So he made this when he was 12 years old. So this tells us how natural processing wood was for the subsistent farming craftsman. How the three-dimensional design was about people. And people, that's the fourth wall, the folk art wall. A story about all of you, about all the longing and love and desire, incantation, spells and magic, which is embedded in the handmade objects that's been made. And especially when they were love gifts. When a guy would encounter a girl, he had to show her how skilled worker he was. So he wanted to express himself considering himself not uncrafty, of course. So he put a love spoon in his pocket as a part of the engagement ceremony and went to the girl, and if the girl raised interest, he knew he could ask for her hand. So the fourth wall in the creative room is about communication between people. Art and design in traditional craft is talking directly to the users. Use me, love me, take care of me, because when I made it, I took care. And now we come to the end of the story, why I call myself Sur-Olle. This is about 15 years ago, and I'm standing in my workshop. I just made a prototype of a stool. And I forced myself to make progression and to make crafts that are carved and cut, perfect in strength and function, but with an older, more rustic and coarser expression. And I'm in a crossroad, wanting to make renewal and craft based on the tradition. And all of a sudden, my daughter Hillevi, 9 years old, comes into the workshop and asks me, "Who made this stool?" Strange. I'm her woodworking father, so But about that time, I was kind of connecting to my ancestors and thinking about them, how they lived their lives, and I was identifying myself with my tradition. So I said, well, it's an old guy. His name is Ole Olsson, and he's an outsider, a sour outsider from the woodlands. And she didn't think this was very strange at all. She just asked me, what kind of animals does he have? I said, well, yeah, he has lots of animals, lots of pets. Okay, she said, and then she disappeared in the house. And after a while, she comes back and she has named horses, sheep, goats in drawings. And then there was this guy, Sur-Olle. I just looked at him. I see these pictures and I realized that he made drawings that showed and personalized my deepest longing for making craft. And then he became an alter ego. And I started to have deep and renewal discussions with Sur-Olle and played around with him in my workshop. And with this schizophrenic transformation to Sur-Olle, he's a dear friend now, right now. Something happened. A vein started to flow. A flood of ideas came up for slöjd and craft filled with colors and patterns. Objects that I simply would like to call slöjd. Thank you.